Alright, today we're going to talk about the new Marvel Legends Venom wave. And I only have two figures, so I'm not going to worry about the others, but these are my two favorites, which are also the most common figures in the wave, which is Carnage and Venom. So let's start with Venom. So Venom looks really nice and comic accurate. Everything looks okay. He's a little bit more bulky, which he should be because Eddie Brock was a bodybuilder. And he comes with his Venom head and also with the Eddie Brock head. It kind of looks like Brock Lesnar with big eyebrows. And also, if you have the Brock head, you can put this on where it looks like the symbiote is coalescing around his head. Beyond that, he doesn't have any extras. Carnage, on the other hand, has a few more extra goodies. So Carnage comes with two extra hands, which are just his normal hands, and little claws on them. And then he also has the alternate hand where his symbiote's kind of reaching all over the place, and he has his axe hand, which anyone who played the Super NES game is very familiar with. And he also has this piece on the back that can pop off. That looks like his symbiote is going everywhere. Which makes sense since Carnage was a deranged lunatic in a comic, and it always looked like his symbiote was kind of going everywhere to begin with. Basically, it's like his sanity and his symbiote kind of tend to coalesce together and go all over the place. Oh, and here's his Carnage, his Cletus Cassidy head, which I think looks pretty good. It's even got the gleam of madness in his eyes, which you'd expect. So the good thing about these figures is, to me, is mostly just how they look. Now, I do have some complaints. Like Venom does not like to stand up, and you can move his feet about. And he'll stand for a while, and then because he's heavy, he'll tip over for the most part. So he's a little bit difficult to deal with. I usually just lean him up against something, and if you're seeing him here, I have his feet kind of awkward just to get him to stand. And Carnage stands a little bit better. I say that, and he's trying to tip over, but he still isn't that easy to stand. And the other problem, which may or may not be visible in this video, is that his upper leg and his lower leg has a slightly different shade of red, which to a normal human being probably doesn't make that much difference. And his arms actually have that problem too. His arm versus his torso is a slightly different shade of red, but it's not as noticeable as it is with his legs, which is really annoying because I'm really compulsive. And even though my color vision is not as strong as some people's, I still notice it. But I guess that's what you get for a $20 figure versus like a Marvel Select or one of the more expensive statues or something like that, where it's probably more detailed. I know the Marvel Select Carnage is like $50 on the resale, and I actually like the Marvel Legends Venoms look better because it doesn't have the weird heads. And the only positive I say over the Select versus the Legends Venom here, other than probably being able to stand better, is the fact that he's bigger and bulkier, and probably would be good if you want to have a more larger Venom to tower over your other figures. I like to mix the Select, especially with the Legends, especially for the bigger characters. Like if you want to select Hulk, would be a bit better scale with the Legends because Hulk is so huge and the Select version is ginormous. And I'm going to have a video on some of the Select figures eventually. But overall, for 20 bucks, I think they're both pretty good deals, but I just wanted everyone to be aware of the differences. So you might want like a stand to put their feet on, especially for Venom, because he's a real pain to stand over. He kept falling over. And Carnage, well, you gotta play with him a little bit, and you can usually get him to stand. But he's still not easy. So that's my one complaint about the Legends, is a lot of them have issues standing. Although most of the time I like having Carnage kind of bent over or crawling, because that reminds me more of the comics. I'm not used to him just standing straight up. But I like Venom to stand up because I want him to like tower over Spider-Man. Or he's got the kind of the bully thing, so you want him to stand straight up. At least that's the way I look at it. But now that I've said all of that, oh, one more thing. The heads. They're pretty easy to pop off. See, they don't fall off, but they're easy to pop off. And putting them on, sometimes it's a problem. But Eddie goes on a little easier than Carnage because his head's a little bit bigger. And then you just pop it back off. I prefer to keep the head of the symbiote rather than the actual person, especially for Venom, because I don't really like the Eddie Brock head that much. And the arms, I've already popped off Carnage's arms, and they're fairly easy. The only issue is that they're a little bit fragile based on all the little stuff on them. So if I pop this one off, not too hard. As far as I know, nothing else pops off. I like this hand better, so I'm just going to put him back on. So obviously, on these reviews, I put something in the toilet, but these guys are too big. So I'm going to put their heads in there. So that's what we're going to see. So first we're going with Cletus Cassidy. Hopefully he'll actually pop. Come on. Come on, Cletus. Why is it not doing it? I think our toilets had too much fiber. So, one of the things I've learned is the toilet launcher is apparently not made very well because it does not work for very long. And I am having problems with it. In the last video it eventually worked when I played with it, but this time it just ain't going to flush. So, I'm probably going to take this sucker apart and see if I can fix it. So unfortunately, there's not a whole lot I can do toilet-wise at the end of this one. But I will say one thing, is that I think these are both an easy recommendation to buy if you like the Venom and Carnage figures. Although that paint does really get on my nerves. But, what can you do? See you next time, and hopefully I will have a working toilet then.